Hello there, folks, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo. We're going to be making some maps today. Actually, we're going to be looking at some completed maps, and I'm going to be showing you one of the last features of the Forgotten Keep. We were kind of showing a puzzle that we were working on before, and I want to explain in this session what the heck that puzzle is all about, how to solve it, what you can accomplish with it, and how to kind of recreate this in Inkarnate for yourself if you want to. If we go a little quick with this and we have some time left, I might make a second video tonight that kind of shows you what we're doing with the sequel to the summoning, which we were kind of looking at a little while back. We'll take a look at that and see what we do. But first off, I just have to catch my breath, to be perfectly honest. I'm running up and down stairs. Doggies are throwing up in the house, and I'm cleaning them up before our stream. Good times. All right. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at the cleaning the water puzzle room in this this map. I do want to make mention real quick before I go too far with things. We also have all three of the maps that we did for the Forgotten Keep West Wing available on our Etsy store now. So you can actually buy these maps and you can put them on your tabletop. All three of them are here. When you buy them, you end up getting some digital content as well, because we'll explain to you like how this water puzzle map will work. If anybody who you know wants to get one of these maps, they'll get those kind of things explained to them. They'll get a deep dive into each of these rooms and everything, and they'll get some points of interest and some plot points and things like that if they want to kind of run a version of this that's already pre-planned out for them. But as I was mentioning, we're going to be taking a look at the cleaning the water puzzle setup in the dungeon. So as you can see, when you come into this room, there is kind of an abundance of things that you can first notice. It might not make a lot of sense if you're an adventuring party coming in here without any idea of what's going on, but if you kind of poke around and, you know, your game master explains certain things to you, you'll start to understand what exactly is happening. So you'll see on the floor there's these kind of little grooves. We did this by choosing a lighter color tile set than the darker ones that we have elsewhere. These pillars, you'll notice that they're each within one of those lighter tile sets. That means that you can move those pillars within that lighter tile set area. So this pillar can move anywhere in this set, this pillar can move anywhere in this set, this pillar can move anywhere in this set, and this pillar can move anywhere in this set. Now there's not a lot of rhyme or reason as to the way that things are set up, but one of the things that you'll notice is this one doesn't really have a lot of room to maneuver anywhere. And the important thing is, you know that this one can't connect to this square here. You know that this one can't connect any lower than here, and it can't connect here. So these two are kind of the trigger for you to understand what's going on with this puzzle. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit more and kind of square these off a little better, but the solution to this puzzle is to make sure that everything's squared off so that it looks like this. So what this is supposed to do, and you don't see this right away when you're looking at this because my Inkarnate can't work magic like that, but what you can do is make a second version of your map that has this kind of cleaned up. I'm going to real quick try and race through and show you what I did on my finished map, which you'll get as a variant map if you're a patron on our Patreon. But basically what this does is, you can see the pillar style that I chose for a reason, and it's got these kind of little squared off ends. If you end up taking, we'll take the concrete wall. So we'll take something like that. We're going to shrink it down somewhat. Basically what I want to try and do is make it so that if you put it here, try and square that off a little bit more. It's supposed to kind of create like an aqueduct system for you. Now what I did in my other map was I wanted to show, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have just that panel like that, so I kind of made my computer angry and it doesn't want to play with me. We'll see if I have to jump into the pen style. So what I did was I used the same length, but what I did was I went to the advanced settings, went to transform. And I think I had to change the, nope, it was the width. So we'll put that back to 100. And I want that to be maybe a little bit more than half the size, width-wise. And I'll also change the color. I'll make it a little darker so it looks like kind of like a border. Let's see if the darn thing is playing nice. And at this point, I'm going to use my mouse, or I'm sorry, my Wacom pen. And off and on, if the darn thing will let me. And I think we're using slightly bigger versions of the things that I used. We're gonna real quick run through this stuff, and then I'll show you what my finished version looks like. We'll kind of do it Bob Ross style. Well, I already have the finished work waiting for me. But basically what we're doing is moving our content around to the point where we can have this aqueduct move into the basin. Sir Pickledorf, hello, and hello to Jill. So I am showing people how to do the water puzzle in our Forgotten Keep map. So Pickledorf was one of the people who was around when we actually ran this puzzle way back when. So this puzzle is not brand new to me or anything like that. It is something that I've run before, and I liked it because it helps players think of D&D as more than just a combat fest. You know, it gives them the opportunity to kind of explore different things in D&D. And so what we're doing now, Pickledorf, is we're creating aqueducts that kind of extend from the pillars. So what I'm going to do is shrink this down a little bit as well. Because what I'd really like to do is have that seam be pretty close. So we'll make the height a little higher, and we'll bump that up little by little until it fills in that space. And that's pretty good, actually. And then what we'll do is grab one more, turn that sideways, and we're going to do the height thing one more time over here. And I think I need to tweak that a little bit more, bump that up to 73, and then we're going to grab it one more time, and we're going to put that here. Keep shrinking that down until it fills in that space. And again, the reason that we're doing this is to kind of add like a border to this aqueduct. So what we're going to do from here, so this is really cool. Actually, just earlier this week or late during the weekend, something like that, Inkarnate started to unleash a new feature on us, and it's this top brush layer. So for the first time ever, we're actually able to draw on top of stamps that are existing in the map, not flattened to the background like I usually do, to be able to draw over the map, over the stamps. So now if you go to the map that I did for instance, the Coastal Cave, where we had like things in the waves, specifically when we went to the jungle fighting ring and we had pieces of the map kind of stamped over. That opens up a whole new realm of possibilities, and it allowed me to do what I was trying to do here in a new way as well. So typically what you'd have to do is move these stamps to the background. I'll show you what that looks like real quick. So if I grab this and I do flatten to background, that's great. It doesn't really look like too much has changed, and what I could technically do is draw over this with the water fill, and we'll do like a 50% opacity. And we're just doing this as a test right now, so don't come at me. if this isn't even. That actually was pretty even with the mouse. So the only problem with that is if I need to move anything, if I need to erase anything, that stamp is set there for good now. So like if I noticed that this wasn't centered all the way, there's really nothing that I can do at this point. Now, luckily I can undo and we can make sure that we're here again. But what I can do is with the top stamp, you can see I don't have to do anything different now. And if I really need to, I can move this stuff. Now the paint still, ends up where you were working on it, and that's, no big deal comparatively. So what it allows us to do is kind of play with stamps in ways that we couldn't before. It really opens up a little bit of freedom that we didn't have, and I'm really appreciative of that. That's going to make life so much easier going forward. Now, what we're going to do is, the idea of the aqueduct system is, you'll see right now I jumped from the circle shape brush to the rectangle brush. It's not giving me enough freedom to do that, so what I actually need to do is hit the snap button, and at that point I can do a much smaller area. Typically what it wants you to do is kind of work on, the full tile, but what I'm trying to do here is just show you a little bit of space. So what we're going to do is extend that as far as we need to, make sure that it doesn't overlap into the border wall. Come down a little bit here, and then if I apply, that 50% ends up there. And what I can do is bring it down here as well, and I want to make sure that I don't overlap that, because then you'll have a little bit extra that we don't need. And voila. So that's how you would do your aqueduct system. So what you would do from there is you could take your stamps. Oops, I am still in the brush layer. So what you can do is you can take your stamps. Again, you're going to have, pieces of this that are wonky right now because of the way that I did it. I took a little bit more time when I was working on the full version. And it doesn't bring over the water or anything like that. So, but you would just do that. You would continue it across. What you're going to see is the aqueduct goes from, I'm only going to show you pieces, and then when we go to intermission on the other end, I'll show you the finished version. So it keeps on traveling in a kind of rectangular pattern once it hits the center. We have a player in our campaign who really likes puzzles, so I kind of made this for him when we were designing the puzzles and things of that nature. Although I think he might have missed the first session. I don't think that he was one of the players just yet. He was just kind of a casual observer, and then I think this is what kind of sold him on it, because this was the kind of DM that I was going to be. So yeah, you can see here the aqueduct runs from this basin up here through the aqueduct system, through the pillars where they're shaped at. Then it dumps into here, and then it'll actually consecrate or cleanse this basin. So the players can use it as a, like a healing fountain if they want, if they need to come back and rest or anything like that. It gives them an opportunity to do that there. Or I didn't have this secret room when we were originally playing. It could open up a secret wall or something like that. It could be a situation where this kind of opens up and they're able to go into this room and maybe there's some treasure or something like that, if the GM doesn't want to have a spot where they can come and lick their wounds or anything like that. So what I'm going to do for a moment is we're going to switch over to, I think what we're going to do is we're going to switch this over to the sponsors real quick so that I can let other people kind of steal the spotlight for a minute. And then when we come back from the sponsor spot, we'll briefly be in intermission so that I can get the finished version of this map ready for you. And then I'll show you what it looks like when it's complete. So bear with me for 1 second. We're going to switch over to the sponsor spot. And now, a word from our sponsors. We've featured the work of author C.V. Vobe on the Tellus website before, but what we were exploring earlier was a snack-sized introduction to their world. Now, with the release of The Yawning Gap, The Wanderer's Cycle Book 1, we can take a deeper dive into their world. Vobe's prose brings about the story at a wonderful pace, and they bring their characters to life with such wit and charm you won't be able to help wanting to follow them along their paths. You can check out our latest promo for their work on the Tellus website starting this Thursday, the same day this awesome new book goes live on bookstore pages. Folks, if you're looking for a great fantasy that starts out feeling like one of the classics before it treads its own path, you'll love the new debut of author Horace Whitehouse. His book, The Trials of Knights, The Heroes of Lotine, Book 1, features characters you want to follow, exciting events that keep you racing through the pages, and a rich and interesting world. It feels vaguely familiar to the world of Tellus too, so if you like my books and my world, you'll definitely like The Trials of Knights. Check out our promo for it on the Tellus website. Alright, and we are back, and as you can see on my screen, we're back with a finished version of the map that we were just doing. This has the aqueduct all completed, it has the basin cleansed, so you can see that everything is as it should be. I took a little bit more time to do this finished version when I was showing you on the demonstration just now. That was just a really quick race, just to see, I could show you the new tool that Inkarnate unveiled. I could show you, the basic concept of how the puzzle works, that kind of thing. You can see that there's a couple of other things that we did with this version of the map. We have the brazier lit up, and we don't have the secret room over here. I figured in the variants that we have, there's certain ones where the secret rooms are not present. So on the second floor, we've got those 2 secret rooms. There's a couple of options that you can see on the Patreon. One has one of the hidden rooms, not revealed. One has the other one not revealed, and one of them has both of them hidden in the darkness. So a game master, if they were doing Roll20 or something like that, they could use one map at a time if they wanted to. I think Roll20 also has the kind of like hide this room feature, but if they wanted to do it that way, they have that opportunity as well. So this is what that puzzle looks like completed. That's pretty much it as far as I wanted to show you with the Forgotten Keep today. But if anybody wants, what we can do is I can real quick wrap up this stream, and then I can show you one more technique on the summoning map that we were working on last week. What we ended up doing was noticing that there was a color discrepancy, and I wanted to show people how to solve that problem if they run into that issue like I did. So if anybody in the chat wants to see that, just throw it a yes, I want to see that up in the stream chat, and then I will cut off this video and I'll start up another one as I move some things around, and then we'll go from there. And if you want this to just be a quick quiet one and I'll go over to a regular chat, I can do that too. All right, I am going to do that real quick. What we might actually do, I'm not going to make it a separate video. I'm just going to push this over to intermission one more time as I scrounge together some more stuff for us. So I will be right back. Alrighty, I'm back again. So, what we were running into before was this is clearly not a built-in version of the textures that we see in Inkarnate. This was definitely something that I had to manipulate. You can see that in the background there's a little bit more going on than just one texture or one color or something like that. So what I was able to do was I actually took the first step was trying to make sure I had the right style. So what I did was, you can see as I'm coloring in, you can see like all those spots in the background, they're getting filled in. So I knew I was using the right texture at that point. The next step was to make sure that I knew what else was going on, and I had this color palette that I had in the brush layers as well. So after toying around with it for a long time and not really realizing what was going on, I came up with a kind of solution. So if you've got a map that's big enough, what you can do is kind of apply a large enough spot on your map where you can kind of do things in percentages. So what I was able to do was wipe everything clean, go to my color, and then do something like this. Go to 60%. And then go to the fill command and do a strip, and then go to apply, move over, and for whatever reason it didn't snap to the grid there. That's okay. So we'll move it over manually, drop it down to 55, apply, move it over again, move it to 50, apply, and so on until you fill out all those strips. You didn't have to do 5 if you didn't want to, something like that. This just helps you to kind of visualize where things are clean. And from my vantage point, 40% looks pretty darn good. So if I wanted to do a closer test, what I could do is break everything back out, and maybe what I could do is apply 40 on each side, and then maybe do 35 in the center, and then maybe 30. And basically what we're trying to do here is visualize which shade is the closest to everything else here. Because the problem was, for those who were watching the stream that I had done before, we didn't hit with the sequel map. We didn't get it right. So what this allowed me to do was kind of figure out where everything was supposed to go. Now there are still some tweaks that I'm going to need to make, because you can see even in this finished version, again, 40 I think is the hit that we want. There are definitely some things that are missing. There's a lot more greenery in these spots. So I think what actually happened was, so we'll take a step back out. We're going to go to our texture brush one more time. We're going to grab this and extend it to 5 times again. And we'll apply that. We want to make sure that we're applying it all the way. And then from there, what we'll do is grab some of the greenery, and we're going to kind of spackle this on with a brush. And I don't think that this was ever, like if you look here, it doesn't look like it was ever all the way in there. So we'll do some 50%. We're going to put a little bit of greenery in here first. That is not 50%. Something like that, and then when we tack on the white now, or the gray, or whatever color it is at 40%, it should even up to this pretty well. So we'll go back to the color, we're going to go back to fill, we're going to grab that entire area, bump that up a little bit, move it down to 40, hit apply. That's pretty good. I mean, it probably could still stand to be a little closer, because the greenery that we have there is a little too bright. So I would have to play with that a little bit more too. But we at least at this point have enough room to understand which direction we were going. If we made that darker, I'm sure that it would look a lot nicer. But we nailed down the number, and that was a big part of it. So those were 2 little techniques that I showed you in like rapid fire succession. I'm going to work on the sequel to this map tomorrow. Now that we have the colors and everything that we want, we'll clean that up a little bit more. We'll get that to where we want. and this map will be coming out next week. And then after that, we're going to have another indoor map, I believe, which is going to be a tavern that I'm drawing for the first time on Inkarnate. It's a tavern that my players have seen before, but the rest of the world will be able to see it. And we're going to change the way that it appeared to some extent because there was never an outdoor component to it, and we're going to add that to the effect as well now. So I'm going to bring this over to the chat break, and if anyone wants to chat, I'll be there for a couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap this one up in record time, I think. So as you can see, still a little sweaty, but the room is not nearly as bad as it has been in the past. I'm just running around like a loon today. Just dab my head. So I think a ring light would either make me look terrible or a lot nicer than I look right now with all this washed out color. What does everybody think of that? We got a lot of quiet people out in the world right now. And actually, as we speak, I'm going to prepare myself for tomorrow's stream. You're beautiful, Misery. A beautiful Misery. Alright, so we've got all this weird stuff going on. Let's make sure that when we're coloring this... You know, I am going to drop back over. I have a fan. The fan is on it. It's actually it's nice that you're not hearing it, but I have it. It's just it's not an air conditioner for sure. So why you keep on sending me dinosaurs? I feel like you might have just found the dinosaur for the first time, Matt. All right, let's see. I'm gonna do that to the foreground. That's perfect. I'm actually going to drop us back over to the regular recording since I'm working on it anyway. So I'm just preparing us for tomorrow. So I'm coloring these back in, knowing that oh, you know what, the shift is there, and I don't know that we want it there. So this map, the idea was that the puddles had to be kind of moved over a little bit more. So everybody's got dinosaurs now. I see. Well. Alright. That 3 is the way that we want to go. Say what? Okay, so we got all of that. And we're going to switch to the background because we want this all filled in too. I might change the way that looks a little bit just so that it doesn't have... the same textures on both. Like that might have more of like a rocky texture or something like that. Everybody's having a good time. Do you think they're doing the Thriller dance, or are they doing something completely different? Here's one of the nice things too. So I'm going to save this just so that I have the color locked in, but they do kind of remind me of Bubble Bobble for sure. Once this is done saving. So one of the things that I was mentioning was they did this new top brush feature. So if I did this, like I said, I'm terrible with blood and stuff like that. Like I can't get the color right. But the fact that they changed the tool set, I don't have to switch this tree to the background anymore. I could draw lines of blood in it without it looking silly. I am going to move my microphone again. Bear with me. So yeah, in here, what I could do is, well, it would help if I was on the top brush, not on the background brush. Well, that's way too much. If we drop that down, I'm always a big fan of messing with the opacity. So we could make kind of like around the outsides of the branches. Because the idea and you can't really see it, but as the tree kind of descends down a little bit, we'll have big puddles of blood and stuff like that. Actually, from there, I can do, I think it's the foreground. Yeah, it's the foreground. So down there, it'll be underneath the branches. We can have this that's on top of the branches, and then we can have this underneath, making the pools of blood. Maybe even up here, we can kind of fill in this area a little bit. And it's all going to have that kind of like dusted over feeling, and we might even color some of the blood above the dust level, so that it looks like it's kind of mixing in. Whatever's been going on has been going on for a while. Fill that in a little bit more. But ultimately, the idea that we're trying to run with this one is it's running down here. And we're going to bring this to the background layer, and we'll start to see down here, this is going to be where our spot starts to fill up. So down here is supposed to be our kind of like blood pool. And we've kind of always conceptualized this map as being kind of like a mini tower defense kind of situation. So the players are supposed to either, get in here and try and stop the monsters coming through the portal or the cave or whatever themselves. But they're also able to post up here, shoot them with spells, shoot them with arrows, get to the bridge here, use that as a way to harm the monsters and stuff like that. But if they come through here, they've got, like a little area where they can kind of replenish their health if you haven't killed them or anything. I'm always one for doing some crazy things with the rule set that you have. And sometimes that means completely breaking it. Sometimes I like to throw a little bit of World of Warcraft in there. Sometimes I like to throw a little tower sphere. Sometimes I like to see what you can do with a Jenga tower, things like that. We finally, after years and years, have got to a point where we're ready to resume our regular D&D campaign, and I've always had ideas for what to throw at them, and I've got some really cool stuff planned. So I'm excited to share it with them, and then ultimately to share it with everybody on Twitch and YouTube and Patreon and stuff like that. So we definitely are looking forward to that. I'm not going to play around with this too much because there are things that I want to experiment with, and I don't want... I was saying it last time, sometimes it's fun to watch the donuts get made. It's not as fun to see the ingredients get picked out. So with that in mind, when I'm trying to figure out like what I want in this middle path and things like that, I'll do that on my own, and then if I get to that tomorrow where it's done, I can show it off, and then we can kind of experiment a little bit more with stamps and things like that. But we're at the 35-minute mark, and I don't want to play a little too crazy. So what we'll do is we'll call it that for now. I'll leave the chat open for another minute or two, and then I'll see everybody tomorrow. That went really quick. And good night to you as well, sir. I would love a chalky milk. All right, now I got a reason to get down there, so I'm going to save this one more time, and we'll switch this to the outro, and I will see you next time.